Namaste, Jai Hind. My name is Anand Narsimhan. A lot of them confuse me sometimes with Anand Ranganathan. He's also a good friend, but he's a different person. My given name is Sri Krishna Sharma. I'm going to start with two, three things which all of us know. Dharmo Rakshati Rakshita. That means Dharma protects those who protect Dharma. Dharyena iti Dharma. That means that which sustains is Dharma. So for our sustenance, it is our Dharma. So what is our Dharma? Today I'm going to quote not maritime experts, but historiographers, people who have gone back, bankers, economists, who have tried to research our itihasa and written what we were. Because somewhere, ladies and gentlemen, I believe very strongly so that until and unless we are very sure of who we were and what we were, we will not tell the present and the future who we are and where we need to be. And I'll try and put this into context. So, two of my friends and authors, I'm going to quote them liberally today, but I'll also give them credit. One is Dr. Vikram Sampath, who's not just written about Savarkar and other books in the past, but he's also written a book on the brave hearts of Bharat. And I've just started reading the book, but the first two chapters had me enthralled because the coincidence of me coming to Bhubaneswar and us talking about our own maritime history somewhere reflects in what he is writing about two of the big bravehearts. I'll talk about that. But what he writes, he says, Dharmartha Kama Mokshanam Upadesha Samanvidam Katha Yuktam Puravrutam Itihasa Tachakshmate. Now, this is what Kalahana, in his seminal work Rajatarangini, has written. I know there are past masters in Sanskritam, so if I make any mistakes, please forgive me. But it is to put matters in context. So, what does he say? Purvavrutam, or narratives of the past that are in the story form, Katha Yuktam, and impart Upadesha or instruction in the four limbs of humanity's pursuits. So, Dharma, righteousness, Artha, material pursuits, Kama, sensual pleasures, and Moksha, liberation, is called Itihasa, literally translating to it thus happened. How many of us know it thus happened? How many of us, even living in Odisha, we know that in Philippines they are referred to as Kling. But do we know that the Bali Yatra is referred to as Bali Yatra, which is in Indonesia? It is not referred to as the Kalinga Sadhava Yatra. So how are we going to remember the Sadhava Puas? And that too Kalinga as a naval bastion or one of the most important ports for trade towards the southeast of Asia and also towards the south of Asia. If our own festival is celebrated as something which is a foreign land, oh, they went to, but who went to Bali? The Kalinga went to Bali. The Sadhavas went to Bali, right? So, for us to share prosperity, we need to get our narratives right. So, we need to get our itihasa right. So, no offense to the organizers, no offense to anybody, but I'm just saying this is where it's endemic in all of us, and we've been ingrained to self-loathe. So, Sir was also talking about respect, belief. But more importantly, the self-loathing has to go away. Then, how did it all end? Now, time and again, historiographers, historians, and even maritime experts would realize that for nearly 2 millennia, so 0 CE to 1700, India and China were competing with each other in terms of the world's largest GDP output. And India, for more than 2 millennia, got it right. It was competing with the China. What happened after the 1700s? What happened? The invasions happened, yes. We've killed our own narratives. We have killed our own itihasa. We have killed our own abilities. So today, how many of us, I'm here to talk about the role of media and sharing prosperity and spreading this message, but in our own homes, if we don't gift boats to our children and tell them this is what you need to do, you need to romanticize sailing in the seas. You need to become a merchant of the navy or merchant of the seas. If we don't do that, if we don't know that Kalidasa dedicated 5-6 verses in the 6th chapter to Himangada, the Lord of the Seas, And he referred to the Bay of Bengal as the Mahodadi. So then how are we going to go back, come forward and say, oh, let's talk about our maritime abilities? How are we going to do it? Now, page number 86. Now, this is Sriram Balasubramanian, US-based, bright mind. Not just an engineer, he's a banker and he's also a student of Sanskritam, and he spent 7-8 years researching our Itihasa. Now, this is what he writes about maritime routes. And sir, I'll wind up after this. There have been many anecdotes of Indian maritime history in recent times. The main maritime trade routes in ancient India were the ones along the Erythraean Sea, connecting the western coast of India to the rest of the world, and the Indian Ocean connecting southern and eastern parts of India to the rest of Southeast and East Asia, respectively. These maritime routes provided the last mile delivery to import and export the goods between major cities of this country. He actually says that we had a three-way infrastructure, and the concept was that you would have inland regions, interconnection between inland regions, corporate guilds, and maritime infrastructure. This concept existed even at the time of Mauryas. So even around 300-400 BCE, he refers to multiple instances and he quotes it. And then he says, this is how Kautilya broke up who's going to do what. I'm just going to read this part. Kautilyan references to the Department of Waterways and Ships are very significant as well. There was a superintendent for ships, Navadhyaksha. Passports and accounts related to trade, Shamashastri. This is what Mr. Shamashastri has written in his book, 1915 and page 131. Some of these roles included details on the monitoring of customs duties on the ports, fishing licenses, Naukha Hatakam, and sailing fees for passengers who came in these ships, Yatra Vetanam, and taxes for individuals living in the coastal areas, Kliptam among others. So we had a very, very organized system. We were some of the best boat manufacturers in Kalinga. This very place was a shipyard, ship deck, shipbuilding area in past. How many of us know? How many of our friends know? How many of in Odisha know? So we can play a role, but then there has to be a conscious effort to build an awareness and pride and belief. So at our end, we'll do our bit, but where are the conversations roaming around? He's put out a lovely map, and I'm just going to end with this map. In this map, when you see, ladies and gentlemen, this is the routes, the trade routes and sea routes. When you look at the map of India, what do you see? More land or more water? We are obsessed with the land. It's time we start obsessing with the water again. Because we are Sindhu. We are Sindhu, a land surrounded by water on all sides. Indus and Saraswati, Brahmaputra or the Luit, and the Sagara on the other remaining sides. And we are not obsessing with water. I rest my case.